Hello and welcome to the LLG Vlog Special Edition, where I'm delighted to be joined with our president, Paul Turner, to reflect upon his presidential year in the run-up to the AGM. Hello, Paul.
Hi, and it's great to have my exit interview broadcast to the world.
In perpetuity as well. I can't say the word, but yeah, it's always going to be there. So bear that in mind. Just to say, little reminder for watchers that the AGM is taking place on the 29th of April at 12 p.m. and members can register to attend via the events page of the website. Now, Paul, I can't believe it actually. It's gone so quickly. Your presidential year is coming to a close. How does it feel? Are you full of relief, pride? Do you need to take a long holiday?
Um, I've been told off by my boss in Essex for not taking enough leave, so I'm
Ah,
definitely planning to take some holiday. But in terms of LLG, I think it's gone very quickly. It's been fun. I've done lots of interesting things. Hopefully, I've achieved some useful things. And yeah, the company hasn't gone bankrupt, so that's good.
no,
And
we haven't.
and it's yeah, so it's been a really good and interesting year. I hope and yeah.
Excellent. And way back when you took office at the AGM of last year, I know you had a lot of specific priorities that you wanted to kind of achieve. But looking back, what do you feel were the most significant achievements during your tenure in office?
So I mean, obviously the thing that's probably going to have the most lasting impact
Hmm.
is the creation of ammo, which I think is really badly needed by the monitoring officer community. And I think it's been really welcomed by everybody, and that's a really, really positive thing. I would say that we're only at the very beginning of Ammo's journey, and that its future is not yet assured. But I think it will thrive and be really valued. But we've just got to make sure that it is delivering value for members, and that's something that's that. But at least we've been able to get it launched and get people joining and get the funding and getting the staff in place. So that's
Well,
really good.
it's a remarkable achievement, Paul. I mean, how pleased were you when it actually went live? And of course, as well, to get the helpline off and running so quickly. How did that feel for you?
Um, it was really great actually. The fact that we managed to get it launched, and sometimes it felt like it was going to be impossible.
Hmm.
'Cause obviously everybody involved in it has got another full-time job. So like Deborah is full-time chief executive of LG. You're involved full-time. I've got a full-time job at Essex as well as being president. So actually getting people to commit the time and to actually achieve that when we said we would is was huge actually, and we needed to have something to launch with, and the helpline felt like it was a really good first step, and I hope people are finding it useful, and it will. But like we've just got to make sure that we are providing things that members find really useful.
Well, I think they are, and it's certainly getting good use. And we've already had some good feedback around it because that ability just to reach out and sense check something, I think, and just receive a bit of support and know you're not alone is the main driver for that provision, Paul. So I think it's been received very well. But you talked about ammo being at its infancy, and obviously it is, but it's got to evolve as a professional body. But what would be your hopes? What would be your success markers, let's say, for ammo in 5 years' time? What would, if you could just have a free hand in the list of it, what would that look like?
So for me, the thing that I think is most important is the guidance and the kind of community coming together and saying, this is how we think it should be done. I mean, not obviously we've got not being incredibly prescriptive, but providing guidance and documents which are helpful to use to hold councils to account and to explain to councillors and to senior leaders within councils why things are happening in the way that they are feels really, really important. And that's something
Mm.
that we haven't quite launched that yet, but there are lots of things going on in the background to make it happen. But that's in 5 years' time. That feels like really important. That- so you've got something, if you've got something to wave at your chief executive, or your chief executive's got something to wave at the monitoring officer if things aren't necessarily going well. So we know how to provide a framework for how the job is done, because at the moment there's
Yeah.
a huge amount of discretion as to how it's done, and that could create the illusion that people have got that that the job isn't really anything specific, whereas actually I think it is something really specific. It's just not incredibly well written down.
Mm, absolutely. And we do know as an organization that our guidance does command respect, actually. And that's evidenced through we've got some planning guidance in relation to planning committees where the Court of Appeal has endorsed it actually as sound and practical. And that
Yeah.
would be for me as well something I would like to see AMO carry forward very much.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not like it's never happened before, but we've not attempted to do it in such a systematic way.
Yeah.
That's what I'll say.
No, absolutely. And hopefully it'll be, I mean, we're listening, aren't we, to our members in relation to ammo as to what it is they want and they need, and that will be
Yeah.
useful to them rather than dictating it the other way around. And that's a great driver as well for effective and helpful guidance. So,
Yeah.
and you know, I feel like LLG has sort of really come on with its national representation. We have an important role, obviously, in engaging with central government, regulators, and other national bodies. And how effective do you think our collective voice has been over the past year?
So it feels to me that we are listened to by MHCLG, and obviously I can't talk about what happened in the
Of
past,
course
but
not.
at the moment, it, we are listened to, and I think we can see LLG's influence in government policy, and we're certainly being listened to about on the standards reforms, and I mean, alongside all the other bodies. But
Of
I feel
course.
like we have the most to contribute to that, because we're the people who are going to have to make it work in practice when the law changes come around. I mean, it would be nice to see remote meetings actually get on the statute, but during my presidential year, we've at least
That's
got
been
them
rumbling.
talking.
Yeah.
I told uh, uh, the announcement that the government were going to support that came out at the day before the spring conference, and
It
I
did.
announced it at the spring conference, and it was um, a massive outpouring of delight and cheering, and I passed that back to this MHCLG, which they're very pleased about, but
Yeah.
it still hasn't actually been
Well, let's see what happens in
implemented.
the King's speech.
Yeah, but
And
I,
we, you know, keep our
yeah,
well, I forever remain positive, Paul. It's a long campaign road for me back from those days of COVID, and we'll see.
I'm not going to bet that it's the number one item in the King's speech list.
No, I'm not going to bet that either. But aside from government, which is incredibly important, and I do know that the way we now interact with stakeholders from SIPFA to SOLIS to ADSO to Centre for Governance and Scrutiny, all these different and beyond actually has been so proactive, and we've had some really great collaborative work. But what key external relationships have you sort of particularly enjoyed? I'm thinking about maybe some of the conferences you've been to, or 'cause you've been all over, haven't you?
Yeah, so during my presidential and career as deputy vice president and vice president, I've managed to get to go to the Solar Conference in Scotland, which is the sister organisation to LLG there, and those conferences have always been really interesting, and you always pick up things that are useful to how things can be done slightly differently, because see, Scotland's part of the UK, but everything is similar but different
Yeah.
and that's just really interesting. And like, they don't have the general power of competence in Scotland, so we're just having interesting conversations about that. And they do have an effective standard system in Scotland, so we had an interesting learning on that. And um, so that's been really good. It's also I was fortunate to be part of the panel at the ADSO conference, the Association of Democratic Services Officers conference in September in Liverpool, and I think LG has always had really strong links with ADSO, but I think I've been really keen to promote those, particularly as some monitoring officers are members of ADSO, but not necessarily members of LLG at the moment, and trying to make
Mm.
sure that ammo is inclusive for everybody is really important to me.
No, I think that's got to be right from a professional body, and there are lots of deputy monitoring officers, and I think we probably see an awful lot more deputy monitoring officers in unitarisation, and they do tend to be representative of the ADSO members more at the moment, statistically, than monitoring officers. So, I think that's really important. Um, But obviously, you've been out and about and you've met members as well. Have you got any insight into what members have told you they value most about LLG? Um,
So I think the training and the support and the conferences. I mean, the governance conference this year, which was in London, and in a really good venue, was really well received. It felt like a really buzzing atmosphere, and everybody said afterwards what a great conference it was. And so those conferences, those people who can go to those conferences, because obviously not everyone can, feel like they're really valued by members. And I think one of the really interesting things about ammo, sorry to come back to ammo again, but the monitoring officer conference attendance is included with your ammo subscription, which hopefully that means that we'll have a really, really, really good attendance at the monitoring officer conference this year, because most people will get it for free or for very little cost if they want to attend in person. And that's again, that's really good because it's a really good way for members to meet each other, have those conversations, and it's catch up with people, and it's really it's a really good way to have the networking and do the learning as well.
yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it actually gives you a physical morale boost as well,
Yeah,
which I think is probably needed in the sector. But I mean, obviously, MOs by their very nature of experience are sort of via the other end of their career spectrum. But we know, don't we, that there is a problem. Well, we have an aging workforce. Obviously, you and I are exempted from that, Paul. But also, but B, there are succession issues and recruitment and retention issues as well. So, and obviously, LLG are all about supporting all the tiers of our membership, not just at the MO level. Um, but what would you say do you worry about most about the future of local authority legal professionals in terms of trying to attract younger lawyers into the profession and retain them?
I think there's a lot of challenges at the moment because there are a lot of people who want to work as lawyers, and when we get people through the door, they find it really interesting and challenging
Mm.
place to work. And you know, I was fortunate enough always to have worked in local government, and I've never really wanted to join private practice myself. Um, and it's and I've also been fortunate that we've kept the authorities that I work for have done most of their legal work in-house. So I
Mm.
think keeping that confidence of the in-house team to do most of the work. I mean, obviously you're always going to need to use barristers for significant advocacy, but there's lots of things that people can do in-house if they believe in themselves. So I think that self-belief and keeping that self-belief is really important. And I think also doing what we can do to increase the number of apprenticeships is a really um great thing. So if you look at um our to be appointed junior national lead, Chantel Johnson, she joined Essex as a caseworker, and then was we were able to give her a solicitor apprenticeship, and she um passed that with really flying colours, and she's really committed to local government. And we've got other people slightly behind her. We've taken three people now straight from sixth form, and they're all incredibly bright and hardworking, and great credit to local government legal practice, and just keeping that going. And I think perhaps one thing about the organisation, if there are more larger teams, there will be smaller number of legal teams, but those legal teams will be larger. That increases the opportunity to have apprenticeships, which is
Yeah,
really got to be the lifeblood of the profession, because we can't attract bright people coming in from university. It's really, it's really difficult because people who train in private practice, some of the people sort of stumble into local government, and quite a lot
yeah.
of them, they can be really good people, and they really enjoy it when they get here, but but they have to kind of um take the plunge, and it, but getting people really early in their career is really fantastic.
I couldn't agree more. Like, I believe that local authorities really need to look at and consider their opportunities for that to make that provision. And of course, LLG, we work with a lot of universities and we run our work experience week, and lots of members of authorities take part in that, which is brilliant. And we're also from our interns that we've taken. I did run the figures, but it's literally it's like about 80% of our interns go on to work in local government as well, which is brilliant because they fall in love with it through working
Yeah,
at
I mean,
LLG.
and there's so much interesting work that you
Mm,
can do, and it's and like we've had people go into private practice from Essex and then come back again because they actually missed the variety and interesting level of the work.
yeah,
Um, uh, Obviously we have people who stay in private practice, and we've got people who could easily go into private practice, but actually they really love working for the local authority.
yeah, there is something about it, absolutely. But on that point, though, what would you say if you could change one? Because I believe there are still misconceptions about local authority lawyers. So if you could change one misconception, what would that be, would you say?
So I think some people think that it's um an easy option, and it really is not an easy option. It's a very challenging option, it and I think that perception is really important, that to be dispelled, because I mean, sometimes we'll have members of the public thinking that we don't do any work because we
I
work in the
know.
public sector, and it's completely the opposite of the truth. Um, and people deserve the respect for the hours and effort they put in to make life better for residents, which is what it's all about at the end of the day, isn't it?
Absolutely. And that's why I'm so pleased that LRG has its LRG Awards that will be happening at conference on the Friday night to celebrate that legal talent. And it does inject a bit of a well-needed boost into the sector because people really do enjoy it. It really matters. It really matters to acknowledge because there's not a lot of that goes on. But as you come to close, you've got I haven't worked out how many 9 days at the point of this recording. It'll be even shorter when we go live. What advice would you give to your successor, Helen Bradley, as president, as she steps forward?
Well, so I think having a sense of purpose is a really um good thing. When I was first elected to the board, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do during the presidential year, and of course you can't really know because it's 2 years ahead of when you're um elected, and you can have ideas. So I think that's really important, and I think the other thing is to kind of to realize that you are the the figurehead of an organization. So one of the things that I'm really pleased that I did, and you gave me very positive feedback about it, was wanting to meet all the LLG team,
Mm,
and I really enjoyed working with them, and um it, it's that's been a privilege. And the other thing I suppose is to remember that actually it's a really small team as well, and what if you want to achieve something, it means there's probably something else that can't be achieved.
mm.
And people don't always appreciate how small the team is, and lear learning to help prioritize and get things done that are really important, and not be a kind of person who's demanding. And hopefully I haven't been a very demanding president.
I can attest to that, Paul. You have not been a demanding, on the
um,
record,
to,
president.
to, to, to allow them to get on with the team to get on with the really important stuff. I think that's also something that's worth remembering. I know Helen realised that, and I've taken to referring to the team as small but mighty, and I
Mm.
was very pleased to see that she picked that up and used it at the MO conference. And I think a long may you be a small but mighty team.
Thank you, Paul. Well, no, you're absolutely right. It's impossible for all the ambitions, especially it's only a year of office. I know you've got the 2 years building up to that, but what didn't you manage to do this year that you absolutely hope LLG will continue to pursue?
Well, so one of the things that which I think would be fantastic for LLG if we can pull it off is the links with the International Municipal Lawyers Association in America.
Hmm.
So so Jeff Dahmer came virtually to talk to us at the spring conference, and they would be really interested in having a symposium with LLG, and we were hoping to get it done at the end of this year, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. But I think that would be really, really fantastic to do. And then obviously as ammo, I think ammo developing the guidance, the suite of guidance, that would be really helpful. And just on the inclusiveness of ammo, I think ammo is the right place to produce the guidance, but the guidance is probably going to be useful for all LLG members in reality.
There'll be quite a bit of it, yeah.
Yeah, I don't see this as, I don't see it as being specific to monitoring officers necessarily. The point is that it's a way of bring things together in a more ordered way, because all our members work for a monitoring officer ultimately, don't they?
Yeah.
Pretty much all of them anyway. They work with a monitoring officer if they don't work for them. So that's really, really important, because sometimes people have sort of given me the impression I think it's not very inclusive and it's a sort of elitist thing, but it's not meant to be that at all.
It's not at all, and governance is for everyone. All
Yeah,
members at every level need to get a grip on governance
yeah,
and safeguard it,
yeah. Exactly.
is the bottom line, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's
So,
really important. So Anika, that was Anika's slogan. I'm my predecessor, and I absolutely endorse and agree with that.
mm. So finally, Paul, after a year at the helm, and you will be around for another year on the board in an advisory capacity as the past president. But what are your feelings now it's come to an end, and what does LLG mean personally to you now, having had such a frenetic year?
So I think it's brought home to me how important LLG is and how it's a really good um, interface between LLG members and lawyers and government and other bodies, and I don't think I'd quite appreciated that before, and that's a really important area of linkage.
Mm,
Um, I I sometimes think it's really hard for LLG to strike the balance between leadership and consultation with members, and I think that's something we haven't necessarily always got right. But it's really important that we do that, because I think before I was on the board, I didn't know how I'd get involved with LLG and how I could feed into things, and now I think people just sort of pick up the phone to people and tell you what they think, which I don't think I realized that before. Obviously, I'm going to carry on picking up the phone and telling you what I think, but we've also got to people that don't know that they can do that. So we've got to work out how to engage with members a bit more, I think.
yeah, I think that's really important. And I in particular really value our grassroots membership and the fact that I can ask for expressions of interest on all manner of sector specific specialist subject areas and get a response is brilliant and shows the strength of the organisation.
Yeah, and like Kate, so with the Mazar judgment, so Katie,
Mm.
who's my assistant director of legal, she did a webinar for people about uh, the implications of Mazar before the Court of Appeal decision, and that was a linkage that probably wouldn't have been made had I not been president. But there were probably lots of examples of people who could make those contributions and who don't know that they are able to, and that LLG is really interested in hearing from them. I think
We're
that's really
really
important.
interested. So if anyone wants to use the membership at llg.org.uk email address, we will, if you've got a piece of work or you want to get involved, we will find something for you because we are very busy. So we'd
Yeah,
love that.
small but mighty.
Exactly. Well, thank you for taking the time to talk to me, Paul.
Yeah, thanks very much for the conversation. Thank you.